When Boosie Badazz is the one telling you that you went too far, you went too far. That's not a DJ Academics take. That's not a blog opinion. That's a man who has done real prison time, who has lived by actual street codes, who has his own history with T.I. over snitching allegations. And even he looked at what King Harris did and said this crossed a line that's hard to come back from. That's the part of this situation people keep glossing over. And everyone is debating whether King was right to defend his mother. Everyone is debating whether 50 started it by posting Tiny. Those are real conversations, but when Boosie, neutral, credible, unbothered by either camp, steps in and says both sides went wrong, that verdict means something different than anything a fan account could produce. This wasn't just a rap argument. This was a generational collision, and Boosie was the only one in the room willing to say exactly what it was. To understand why his words hit so differently, you have to trace how this situation got to a place where an OG felt the need to step in at all. I had been pushing for a Versus battle with 50 since 2020. 20 songs each. Atlanta versus Queens. Street catalog versus street catalog. He said publicly it would be a celebration, that they had discussed it privately, and he had permission to bring it up. When he did, 50 acted like the conversation never happened. But that's where it stopped being about music. I didn't just say 50 declined, he said he lost respect for him. In hip-hop, that word between veterans is a declaration, and 50 responded the way he always responds. Not with a Versus date, but with Instagram. He reposted old Crime Stoppers footage tied to T.I.'s 2007 federal gun case. He circulated courtroom clips. He dropped King Rat in the comments, a calculated twist on T.I.'s own title, a name his son literally carries. Now the snitch narrative was back. The music conversation was dead. Still between two grown men. Still contained. Then 50 changed the battlefield entirely. He posted an unflattering photo of Temeka Tiny Harris and captioned it with a warning for T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. Short, pointed, and targeted at a woman who had said nothing publicly about any of this. Tiny isn't just someone's wife, she's a Grammy-winning member of Xscape with decades in the industry. No, she hadn't challenged anyone. She hadn't weighed in on the Versus. She was completely uninvolved, and she became the target anyway. Some fans dismissed it as classic trolling. What they missed was the architecture. 50 has spent 20 years understanding that a man will absorb personal insults before he absorbs an attack on his household. Post Tiny, and you don't just provoke imagery, you activate every protective instinct in everyone close to him. Oh, including the 21-year-old who hadn't learned yet to calculate before he reacted. T.I. responded in the comments, firm but controlled. King Harris didn't respond that way. The second King saw his mother trending for mockery in front of millions. He went live. No strategy, no delay, pure emotion. He fired directly at 50, then went to the place that stopped the internet cold. He referenced Sabrina Jackson, told 50 to dig her up, said it more than once. Now, Sabrina Jackson was 15 when she had Curtis. She raised him alone in South Jamaica, Queens. In 1983, when Curtis was 8 years old, she died in a fire authorities believed was no accident, that she may have been drugged before gas was left running in the apartment. No arrests, no conviction. The case was never solved. 50 has spoken about that loss for over 2 decades. How he didn't understand death at 8, how he kept waiting for her to come home. Like how that void sent him into the streets and shaped everything that followed. That's not a talking point. That's the foundation of who he became. When King posted that headstone, he wasn't firing a standard diss. He was pressing on the deepest wound in 50's origin story in front of millions of people. A murdered mother, an unsolved case, a childhood that never got closure. King didn't stop there. He brought up 50's strained relationship with his own son, a public fallout that had been playing out online for years. He said money means nothing if your own child doesn't rock with you. The timeline split instantly. Some people said he had every right to respond publicly after his mother was publicly humiliated. Others said mentioning a murdered parent's grave is a line that doesn't reset no matter what provoked it. And then 50 responded with a frog meme and 3 letters, LOL. No emotional paragraph, no matching the intensity, just cartoon indifference. That's his formula, and it's been working since 2003. When the other side goes emotional, he goes cold. The person reacting looks unstable. The person laughing looks in control. He made King's raw, protective human reaction look like a crash out. And the narrative shifted from 50 crossed a line with Tiny to did King go too far almost overnight. BTI, watching his son in this storm, did what veterans do. He went to the booth. He dropped war and right one, pointed, aggressive, questioning 50's credibility and hinting at paperwork. He rolled it to Atlanta radio before streaming, old school and intentional. The bars were there. The intent was clear, but the blogs weren't covering the bars. They were covering the headstone and the frog emoji. One side was making music, the other was making memes. And in internet beef, the visual narrative almost always drowns out the lyrical one. That's when Boosie stepped in. And this is where the story gets its most honest moment. Boosie Badazz carries a specific kind of credibility that nobody in this situation has. He's served real time. He's navigated actual street politics, not the social media version. And critically, he has his own documented tension with T.I. over snitching allegations from years back. He wasn't stepping in as a Harris family ally. He wasn't stepping in as a 50 supporter. He stepped in as someone with no stake in either outcome and everything to gain from telling the truth. He said straight up, that's his mama. He understood the anger. He made clear that 50 started the fire by posting Tiny publicly in the first place. That part of his position is firm, but then he shifted. He said King took it to a completely different level, referencing a deceased parent, telling a man to dig up his mother. Boosie called it dark. He said once you bring a dead parent into a public beef, you cross into territory that's hard to walk back from. That wasn't hype. That was a warning from someone who has seen what happens when these situations stop being entertainment. He also said something nobody else was willing to say directly. This wasn't an even matchup. A 21-year-old reacting emotionally against a man who has spent over 2 decades mastering public psychological warfare? That imbalance matters. King was fighting with everything he had. That was always the problem. Fighting with everything you have against someone who fights with patience means you've shown your hand completely while the other person hasn't moved yet. Boosie's own son then stepped into the situation, posting warnings directed at King. King, already in full attack mode, fired back. The situation started branching. Suddenly, it wasn't just 50 versus the Harris family, it was spreading into Boosie's camp as well. And even then, Boosie held his position. He wasn't picking a side, he was pointing at where the line used to be. That's why his words cut through everything else in this situation. Everybody else in this beef had a motive. 50 had a narrative to control. T.I. had an album to protect. King had an identity to defend. Boosie had none of that. He just had a read on where things had gone and the credibility to say it plainly. Now zoom out and look at what each person is carrying. 50 Cent posted a cartoon frog after a grave photo and somehow still controls the narrative. He never went to the booth. Not one bar, not one diss track. Just memes and deleted photos and strategic silence. And yet the conversation isn't about his music. It's about whether King overreacted. That asymmetry is the whole story. T.I. is heading into his final album with this situation attached to his rollout. The attention is there. The question is whether the conversation converts to streams or just stays as headlines about tombstones. And King Harris is 21, still building. Every move he makes right now shapes how the industry sees him long before he's had a chance to define himself on his own terms. The one image that will follow this entire saga isn't a Versus challenge or a diss bar. It's a gravestone. Because while 50 hides behind memes and T.I. hides behind booth sessions, King doesn't have that insulation yet. But the clips don't fade the same way when you're still in the process of becoming someone. Boosie understood that. He said it in plain language for anyone willing to. He didn't pick a side. He just pointed at where the line used to be. And nobody in this situation, not the man who posted Tiny, not the son who posted a headstone, not the veteran dropping diss tracks, is standing on the right side of it.